This is the beautiful estate of the girl's husband. Today, a very important event is taking place here. Guests congratulate the boy on becoming part of the royal family. But despite everything being so wonderful, there are days when Molly feels uneasy. Now she smiles as she was taught, shows respect to others, and behaves with dignity. She thanked everyone who came to the party as expected. Everyone is very happy to talk to her, so the girl tries to pay attention to everyone. She asks how they like the atmosphere, the food, because she also put a lot of effort into making sure everyone liked it. And also, some people notice that this hall has been updated a bit. A major renovation has been carried out here, and now it is much better than it was. The lady is very glad that they noticed such details. She thanked them for the nice words and wished them a good evening. From all sides, all you can hear is how beautiful it is here, and how delighted everyone is. While talking to people, Molly looked to the side and noticed that there was a guy standing nearby. It is precisely this that haunts her. From the outside, everything looks calm, but inside she has the usual anxiety. Victor Damfelt, this is her husband who just arrived. If tomorrow's inspection goes smoothly, he will become royalty. He is a man who spent his whole life restoring the honor of his mother, who was folded by the prince, who completely destroyed the pirates, the headache of the nation, and the person she loves most in this world. The girl married him the year she turned 18, laws and age of majority, and after 2 years, just being around him still makes her feel happy. Molly would have given her life for him without hesitation if it was necessary. If only I knew if he felt the same way about her as she did. That would be great. Meanwhile, they are on different sides of the room, and he hasn't even looked in her direction during this time. People started approaching her with questions about the war. The girl replied that her husband guards the seas, so he doesn't know much about what's happening on land. That lady says that in any case, Salantier is surrounded by harsh mountains. So as long as Lord Victor protects the sea, everything should be fine. Another man joined them. He doesn't think there is any cause for concern because it is impossible for people to cross these mountains. The neighboring country, the Beast, is smaller compared to Salantier, but if a war starts, both countries will lose a lot, so even the inhabitants of Salantier seem to be calm about the war. While everyone is discussing the future of the country, Victor's wife is more concerned about what concerns their relationship. Molly herself doesn't know why she feels so uneasy. She's scared that time is passing and it's not getting any easier. She wants to hope that she is not making some mistake because of nervousness in case tomorrow's investigation goes wrong. This could affect their relationship. And the worst thing is that she doesn't even know if what's happening between them can be called a relationship. From the outside, it looks as if she, like the rest of his fans, is looking at him, but they are husband and wife, and this shouldn't be the case. One woman noticed the girl looking at him. She watched her for a while and decided to come over and talk. She wants to ask just one question. What does she think? Is there any point in loving a man and staying with him if he is not interested in anything except his honor? At first, the girl thought that this was not their case, and then she thought that if it was so noticeable from the outside, maybe it's she who doesn't understand something. And this woman is like a sign from the universe that it's worth thinking about. Molly usually doesn't like it when someone interferes in her life, but now she took these words as advice that she would definitely think about. Madame apologized that if it was unnecessary, but she would like to advise her to have a lover on the side, as she did in her youth. It sounds too wrong, but in her experience, it's better than being unhappy and remaining in her husband's shadow. These words were spinning in her head until the very end, until everyone left, because really, both should love, both should be loved, and it can't go on like this any longer. It's night outside. They've already taken a shower, gone to bed, and, as usual, are silent, each thinking about their own. They talk so little that it is difficult to even remember a case when someone in this room spoke. They are like strangers who were forced to sleep in the same bed. And for now, it seems to her it worries only her. Suddenly, she did not expect it, but he spoke and asked her to go to bed because she was moving and he could not sleep. Molly answered that she was too irritated to sleep, to which he asked what was the matter, and even rose from the pillow, which was very unlike him. The girl thought that it was too early to rejoice. What if he just wanted to make her fall asleep so that he could get some sleep himself? But as it turned out, he simply decided to remind her how she should behave tomorrow. She shouldn't answer questions. It's better to stand aside. And if she has to say something, then there shouldn't be a single bad word towards him. She told him that it was all clear and she was waiting for a few nice words from him, but he didn't even know what the problem was. Victor doesn't understand what she doesn't like, but it's all very simple. They are moving away from each other, and he doesn't even notice it. She, as usual, pretended that everything was fine, promised to try not to move, but the lump in her throat became even bigger. She feels so bad inside that she doesn't even have the strength to talk about it or explain anything. He'll just let it pass him by anyway. Even now, when he kissed her hand before going to bed, she didn't feel any body from him, as if he was doing it to create a picture and an image of a happy couple. He doesn't understand that this is not enough. Kissing the hand is also necessary, but this should not be the only sign of attention for the whole day. At some point, she was very lucky. Her husband thought of hugging her, but it had to be done immediately as soon as she said that something was wrong. This is the very case when even in such embraces, she feels lonely. Now even his hands seem cold, but they are warm. Molly remembered the woman's words that she should run away from such relationships or make sure that in addition to her husband, there is someone with whom she feels good. Now thoughts about her lover have begun. She wants to feel loved so much that she already listens to the advice of strangers. The next day came. All night the girl pretended to sleep, but she herself sorted out her feelings. She woke up with great difficulty. She didn't get enough sleep. It's sunny outside, but she feels so bad that she doesn't notice it. Until she feels loved, it will always be cloudy around her, and all the sun rays will be invisible. And in the meantime, she is already sitting in some office. It looks like that very test they were talking about, where she should not say anything unnecessary. This man says that some medicine in her tea works, but she didn't know that he slipped something into her tea. He did this so that all her memories would return to her, even the oldest ones. And also, what she already drank with tea will make it so that she doesn't remember what's happening here in this room. Molly imagined everything a little differently. She doesn't understand what's going on and why this person needs to know her past so much. This ingredient will help you remember the past more vividly, but if you drink more than the recommended serving, it can cause side effects, such as some moments from your memory will simply be erased forever. The girl already regretted that she drank that tea. She is already starting to dislike everything that is happening. But it is better not to resist after all. Her husband's future depends on it. The guy says the first ingredient worked. She became relaxed, and now he can tell that he doubled the dose of medicine. And then he started to put handcuffs on her hands. Han är med för det ska ske något om toine. Han sa av samma med jag på villain and feels han så She tells him that she is the wife of Victor Damfeld, and he can't do this to her. After that, she asked him to take all this off her because her hands are starting to hurt. He just laughed at her, then pulled the chain hard so that she would understand that no one would be nice to her here anymore. She is trapped and still does not understand what he wants from her. The guy says that naturally he would not dare to touch Captain Victor, but to her easily, now the girl will be here as long as he needs. It becomes clear to her why the second ingredient was needed, which erases memory. He just needs that later. She will not remember anything and will not be able to complain about him. It looks like he's going to pry some information out of her that she wouldn't just tell him. This isn't the first time Molly has visited the police station. When she was 12 years old, there was an accident that killed her parents and left her brother with a serious eye injury. She came there to make a statement about the incident. Then the police questioned her again and again about what happened. As a child, the girl was scared and in pain. Everything was about the same as now. Only time has passed and now she is an adult. They remember that situation with him. The guy says that the brother and sister, orphaned as a result of that accident, were subjected to cruel treatment by their uncle, a very sad story. And then he dared to add that if this happened, then they deserved it. Molly doesn't understand why he even brought this up, since her personal story has nothing to do with the investigation. And what did he answer? That in this situation, no one would come to save her, and now she also did not understand why he said this. He constantly doesn't tell her everything, and it's already getting on her nerves, Molly warned. That her husband will definitely find out that they are keeping her here and won't stand aside. After that, he started to mock her morally, said that as far as he knows, Victor doesn't love her so much to worry and save her from the police. It was too much. She told him that everything was fine in their relationship and everything he just said was not true. He says that they will check it out, but something tells him that Victor won't even bother, especially personally. He'll be lucky if he sends his assistants, but it's unlikely that they'll even be able to penetrate this territory. She's already starting to think that this is some kind of trap, and it's possible that her husband is behind this. The girl had to answer a couple of questions, but they're detaining her and she has no idea what she did. If everything seems as it seems to her, this will be the final point in their relationship. If you look from the outside, it looks like a betrayal, but there is still hope that he is not like that. Molly can't even ask when it will all end. They don't tell her anything on purpose. This man just stands by the window, as if he is waiting for something, and when she starts talking to him, he is so sarcastic that it is better to remain silent. He noticed that she looked in his direction, after which he approached her, and with a smile he said that he had a proposal for her, and after that he asked if she wanted to heal the eyes of her only relative, Earl Isaac. Then suddenly he gave her some note that if she went to this address, she would be able to get a mysterious medicine. But he will give her the note only after she tells him about all her husband's weaknesses. Only now did Molly understand what he wanted from her, and immediately remembered how Victor asked her to be silent and not to tell anyone anything, especially regarding him personally. Her husband, Victor Domfeld, always lived under the impression that it was his fault that his mother lost her royal status. If he could fulfill his lifelong wish and regain his place in the royal family, he could finally find peace of mind. And if this happens, he might fall in love with his wife again and start paying attention to her. After all, her happiness also depends on whether he succeeds or not. A moment passes. She opens her eyes and finds herself in some room on a bed. It's night outside, and inside she has a feeling as if something happened, but it is not in her memory. The girl doesn't understand what's happening. It's as if she's teleported, but she still feels like she just wasn't here. She has a very bad headache. It's hard for her to think. Everything is exactly as the same ingredient that was put in her tea at the police station usually works. Now we need to understand whether she told something important to this person, or maybe Molly doesn't remember not only what she said, but also in what setting and to whom. She started to feel a little panicky against the background of the stress that she always has anyway. A little more, and she'll go crazy. She saw a newspaper nearby and picked it up to read. Although she is usually not interested in anything like that, Molly saw her hands shaking and still continued reading something. She saw the date on this newspaper. It was a week ago, and then she thought that this couldn't be real and she got completely confused. Lucky she remembers sitting opposite the royal police and answering questions. It was a session to find out whether there was a moral defect in recognizing the conqueror as king after he had destroyed the pirates. But what she was asked and what she answered, there is nothing like that in my memory, and that is very bad. Molly can't even remember the face of the person who sat in front of her. She only remembers the fact that it was. The door suddenly opens. No one knocked on it. The girl was so scared that she almost lost consciousness. She doesn't know whether she is afraid of it or not. Looks into her husband's eyes and mentally prays that everything will end well and it won't turn out that she set him up. He says that he looked for her all over the house and also that she is hiding from him here, although this is not true. When the girl opened her eyes, she found herself in an unfamiliar place. Having no idea about it, it was lonely and very scary. During this short time, a lot of worries flashed through her mind, and at that moment she saw her husband appear in front of her. At first it became easier, but from his words, everything immediately deteriorated. She didn't care whether he was angry with her or, on the contrary, came to say something good. She just ran up to him and hugged him so tightly as if she could never do it again. She tells him that she was very scared and does not remember how she ended up there, to which he asked how she could not remember this, and then asked her not to pretend as if nothing had happened. After that, he looked at me with a cold gaze and said that this was a very convenient excuse, but it wouldn't work. Molly starts to get nervous. It's as if everything around her is set up against her. She tells the truth, but her husband simply doesn't believe her. At this moment, the assistant shows some potion that he found literally on the shelf at the entrance. The girl asked what it was and why it was here, because she knew that it was very rare and expensive. And then a phrase was heard that left her speechless. Molly heard that she allegedly sold him for this potion. She turned pale and had no idea how to convince him otherwise, and where he got this information from. She asked him what he is saying, and how he could even have such thoughts. She is his wife, who would never do such a thing to him. After that, he gave her a newspaper and asked her to read it carefully from beginning to end. There was an answer to her question there. Can Victor Dumbfeld, who put his own mother in a mental hospital, really be part of the royal family, suspected of leaking national due to close ties with an officer? All of Victor's weaknesses are detailed in every paragraph, meaning she betrayed him. At the end, there is a last paragraph where it says that this statement is based solely on the testimony of Lady Molly, his wife. The girl doesn't believe that she could do it, and the worst thing is that she can't even remember anything. The guy asks if she betrayed him for the potion, to which she says that it's all not true. At least she wasn't the one who told this information. Victor is sure that no one but them can have this information, and since he didn't tell anyone anything, only she could have done it. He also has proof, a potion, for which she could do it. The girl assures him that she was silent, and he asks her to explain how it happened that this potion was here, in the room where she woke up. He has another question. Why didn't she return home but hid here? All these facts converge to the fact that she betrayed him and is brazenly deceiving him now. She can only say that she doesn't remember anything because that's really the case. Molly is surprised that he even started listening to her. In his place, she wouldn't even try to figure anything out. The guy doesn't understand anything. All the facts indicate that she told the police everything about him and she denies it. Molly approached him carefully and asked him to believe her, even though she knew it was almost impossible, and if possible, it was incredibly difficult. They don't have the best relationship anyway. The probability that he will believe her is negligible, but it is there. He asks her to say that she was threatened. Even if it is true, he will accept her. He will just say that this is how it was. A very difficult situation. Someone is clearly trying to make them quarrel and doing it very professionally. His wife tells him that she has some kind of memory problem, and he perceives her words as a lie, and even asks if that is all she could come up with. He can't believe her, but she understands him perfectly. The guy took his hand back and asked her not to touch him anymore. It sounded so painful that it is impossible to convey in words. Molly is already beginning to not believe in herself because his weak points could not be learned from anyone else except her. Finally, he asked her how fair she thought it would be to send her to a monastery after this. She is speechless. Molly is confused and has no idea what needs to happen for everything to be resolved somehow. Roughly the same thing that is happening outside the window is happening in her soul. There's a huge wound that feels more painful than any physical pain. The next day came. Molly prayed that it was all a dream, but it was nothing of the sort. At night, they spent the night in different rooms. In the morning, the girl found him and asked to talk, and he replied that it would be better if she tried to stay out of his sight. To make sure that this day wasn't completely ruined, she tried to dress nicely. It helps her feel better. The girl wanted to take a walk around the area, but the same policeman who started it all unexpectedly came to them. He saw that she was going to go outside, so he immediately warned her that it would be better if she tried to stay in the house today. Captain Victor doesn't want her to go out to the guests and asked him to personally supervise this. Molly didn't even know that they had guests today, that there was a whole event outside, and no one told her anything about it. The guy says he feels bad saying this, but her husband is ashamed of her, so she's better off staying here. The girl decided not to anger him even more. She returned to her room, threw off her heels. She wouldn't need them today anyway. The fact that she revealed her husband's secret is undeniable. The girl has already come to terms with it. And yet she can't even remember it to this day. Molly wants to find a way out of this situation. This can't go on any longer. She wants to tell her husband the truth, but there are plenty of people around who can prevent her from doing this. She cries, she wants to give up, and at that moment, a loud ticking sound of a clock appears. The girl stops crying. She listens to these sounds, which begin to get louder. There is not a single object around that could tick so loudly, and until she finds out what it is, she will not calm down. Meanwhile, she had already entered the next room, saw this huge clock, took a chair to check what had happened there. This has never happened before, but now this sound is everywhere, and she wants to get rid of it. It turns out that this watch was left to her by her parents. It is a rare item that is considered priceless. And, well, I remembered that my father told me that after removing the weights, the watch needs to be treated and then there shouldn't be any sound. She remembers very little how to do it, but her hands did it all for her. At that moment, the assistant comes in. She wanted to ask if any help was needed and did not expect to see her near the clock. The girl replied that everything was fine. She just wanted to fix the watch because the sound was distracting her. It's not easy to do. I had to disassemble the watch into small pieces. The main thing is to remember how to put everything back together. Another assistant approached them. They started talking aside about the fact that since the lady was from a criminal family, she could have learned to fix anything as a child. Once upon a time, her uncle became the owner of the Crimson family store. Although the girl has never touched the world of watches, it is not clear how, but she has some memories and her hands do everything by themselves. Apparently, she has a very good visual memory, otherwise she wouldn't even be able to make out the watch. One by one, she has some memories, and if she follows them, then maybe she can use it like now. In the end, she managed to put everything back together. The clock became absolutely silent, as it was half an hour ago. They started asking her how it happened, and she replied that she just saw how it was done in childhood. That's the whole secret. Out of the blue, Victor's father, George, bursts into the room. As usual, he is dissatisfied with something and asks what is going on here. He hates it when servants talk to anyone in his family, as if he is afraid that someone might say something unnecessary to someone else. After that, he went up to Molly and asked how. After what she had done to his son, the girl could laugh freely with the maids. She answered him that her husband himself ordered her to stay here and not go anywhere. After that, he, as usual, said that if Victor continues to be with her, he will have problems in his life. Today, when Molly first came to this house, her father always looked at her with displeasure. He did not want to accept her into the family and never hid it. Naturally, after the recent incident, he began to hate her even more. But Molly can understand the man to some extent because he expects Victor to be restored to the royal family more than anyone else, to get rid of the shame of being the one who caused the princess's exile. All she can do is apologize to him and promise that she will try to be better for Victor. He thinks that it is impossible. Such words only irritate him and make him very angry. In fact, the only thing she can do to make the guy's father happy is a divorce. He asked her to think about it now because from the moment she ended up in this house, everyone started having problems and something had to be done about it. At that moment, the girl felt the sound of her carefully restrained feelings slowly being destroyed. She doesn't regret that she loved Victor with all her heart, as if he was the meaning of her whole life. That period when she felt butterflies in her stomach, loved him, and did everything she could for him was the best in her life. But as we know, all good things come to an end, sooner or later. While the man was still there, she thought it over very quickly and said that she wouldn't mind making them all happy. But in return, she wanted to ask for some clothes and money so that she could live on that for a while she looked for a home. In the end, they agreed not to rush into a divorce. He would send her to a monastery, and as soon as the assistant found out everything, she immediately ran to tell the gentleman about it. She cries, says that this is a terrible place. There is no freedom there, and life is like hell, and that the lady does not deserve this. To which he replied that everything would be fine, because a monastery is not a prison, and he would sometimes come to visit to see how she was living there. All the while the assistant ran to tell him everything, they were already talking about how it would be better to finally get divorced, and if they did that, she would already be demanding part of the property. The man is furious. He thinks that she has no right to demand such a thing and does not understand how she has the audacity to say such a thing. But the girl knows that she has every right to do this, so it is easier for them to agree than to go to court later and spend additional money. So that Georgie wouldn't think that she was so impudent, she had to explain that this was all just for her brother's sake. His treatment was currently expensive, and the extra money wouldn't hurt them. Even a small amount can be very useful, and she will spend on herself only what is necessary. After that, he calmed down a little. Molly noticed this and also relaxed a little. She is sure that he cannot refuse something like this. It is a good deed, but as usual, he could not help but say something offensive. That she came here with nothing, and now she demands something else. In the end, he ordered her to go to the monastery for now. He doesn't have time to talk to her, and as soon as he has time, they can talk further. The girl is completely confused. She didn't want to go to the monastery most of all because she heard that nothing good awaits girls there. Molly burst into tears. She doesn't understand why this is happening to her because she didn't do anything wrong, and they are making fun of her like that. At some point, her ring started to sparkle really brightly, but not a single ray of sunlight hit it. She took this as a sign that she needed to try to divorce her husband, and then she would no longer have any problems. If she wants to be free, she needs to leave this house and finally accept the fact that no one is happy here. Not even Victor. The next day came. Molly didn't expect it, but he invited her to breakfast. Apparently, he wanted to say something important. She didn't wait for his word. She spoke first and asked if he had managed to find out what his father had decided. He said that he had heard about it, and he thinks that this is a very good idea. He even said that he will finally be without her, and therefore without problems. The girl understands that this is the last drop of her patience. Now she has definitely decided to divorce him. All that remains is to think about how to pull it off. Victor's mother, Princess Marina, spent nearly a decade in psychiatric wards and is now locked in a convent forever. Naturally, the girl is not going to show up in that monastery for a single day. She doesn't yet know how to tell him about it correctly, but this conversation will definitely catch up with him. Suddenly, he asks her how long she thinks she will stay in the monastery, and then she is stupefied. She says she doesn't even want to talk about it. It won't happen anyway. She won't go there for a second. Meanwhile, after they had breakfast, she thinks about how he didn't accept her apology, but still comes to have breakfast together, which means that everything is not as bad as she thought. Strangely, Molly is already packing her things, as if she is going to move somewhere. Let's hope it's not a monastery. In the end, the girl realized that she couldn't divorce him without visiting the monastery, so she had to agree to it for a while. She really didn't want this. But that's not the most interesting thing. At the moment when they say goodbye, he looks at her as if he is no longer offended. Even when he hugged her before the road, it seemed to her that it was some kind of dream, because in reality, such a thing is impossible. I had to pretend that she enjoyed it, but she had already decided everything for herself, and this relationship would soon come to an end. It seems like he's just happy that she's leaving him, and that's why he's behaving better than ever. She didn't receive so much attention from him, even in the first days after the wedding. The only thing she didn't like was that when she asked how long she would have to stay in the monastery, he didn't answer. He said, "We'll see." She hates this phrase of his the most. Molly is upset. The unknown scares her very much, even too much. They can leave her there for a very long time under the guise of revenge for what she did recently. The girl hasn't seen him so happy for a long time. She doesn't even know if it's good or bad. And now that moment has come, they said goodbye. She enters the carriage all in black, but tries to look at her clothes as little as possible. The girl has no idea what awaits her next, where these people sent her, and how bad everything will be in the near future. She looked at them through the window one last time, and surprisingly, didn't even see anyone smile. Half an hour passed, they arrived at this place. You immediately want to leave from here, but unfortunately, it won't work. There are cobwebs all around. Everything is very dirty, dark, even the weather is different here. It's as if they left for another city. I don't even want to look at all this, let alone go inside, much less stay here for any length of time. The assistant can't imagine how the girl will live here. This is the real punishment and the most cruel one that could be imagined. After the wonderful conditions she lived in before, moving here is quite a challenge. She doesn't want to expose what awaits her inside. The atmosphere around is terrible. There is fog and dampness everywhere, which she hates. While, so to speak, the guy got rid of his wife, decided to train and let out all his anger. He aims very accurately at the target. He hasn't done this for a long time. He was in the right mood. That's why everything turned out that way. At this point, the assistant decided to ask if the gentleman regretted sending his wife to the monastery. Everyone understands that it will be very difficult for her there. Victor did not immediately begin to answer. He asked if anyone really doubted his decision or wanted to bring her back. He said that some people don't know how it really was, so they can't judge from the outside, especially since it doesn't concern them. The guy didn't answer, and Victor even asked if the assistant was really afraid that he would do the same to his wife as he did to his mother. The assistant said it was really none of his business, but he thought it was too cruel. Victor said that he knows better, and if he needs advice, he will definitely turn to him. But for now, he can figure it out himself. He suddenly had memories from the time when everything was fine with them. The guy doesn't know when he started to distance himself from her. So much. It all happened very imperceptibly and very quickly. He says it would be better if as few people as possible interfered with his personal life. Otherwise, they would end up where his wife is. He can organize it very easily, so he warns in a good way the first and last time. Some time passed, the girl only now dared to go inside. She thought that there would be at least some conditions here, but nothing like that. There is an empty floor, one small window, no bed or other furniture that she was counting on. Despite the fact that everything is terrible here, she said that she will try to get used to it. She has no choice anyway. It's already evening outside. She feels locked up like some villain who was put in prison for many years. Everything around her is very depressing. There is not a single bright place here, only the moon, which is barely visible through the bars. And in the meantime, the assistants made her happy. They have bed linen that can be laid on the floor. At least that's something. She thought she would have to sleep on a dirty and cold floor, but now at least it won't be dirty. Meanwhile, some man came. He greeted her, but for some reason he shouts as if she had already managed to do something wrong. He begins to scold her for the fact that since she ended up here, she deserves to be treated accordingly. This man is usually called Father. Molly doesn't quite know how she will address him like that. At least she has assistants with her now who did it for her. They told him that the girl was here temporarily, that her guilt had not yet been proven, and that he had better not express himself like that. They support her as much as they can, although they are not obliged to. The girl is pleased that there is someone here with her. Otherwise, she would have gone crazy from the first second she crossed the threshold of this building. It's impossible to stay sane here. This place is depressing. It's as if it was created so that the people who ended up here would stop wanting to live. The assistants said that if necessary, they would be with her more often, because they imagine how difficult it is to be here for the first time. She thanked them for that. They brightened up her stay here, which was simply priceless, especially considering the whole situation, how unfairly she was treated. The girls were a little teary-eyed. They know her situation, they really want to help, but it is not in their power. Molly almost cried herself. She couldn't even imagine that her assistants were such good people. Without them, she would hardly have lasted here. It is a terrible place where it is impossible to be calm. The girl knows that sooner or later justice will appear in her life. Everything will definitely fall into place, and she will be happy. It's already deep night. She still can't sleep, because now is the time to atone for all her sins. The man has no idea what her situation is. He's just doing his job and isn't going to stand on ceremony with her. He reads a special text that cleanses a person of all the bad things that brought him here. The girl thought it would be worse, but she just has to sit in one place and doesn't have to do anything. This person does it for her. Usually my lie sleeps at this time. On the first day here, she even starts to like this atmosphere. Everything is very unusual. She especially liked the light from the moon that comes here through the windows. Maybe it seems to her. But this person does not create the best first impression. He is not very pleasant to look at. She even asked in advance how long everything he does lasts. He asked not to ask her such strange questions. Everything will last as long as he considers necessary. Everything depends on the person. And also, he asked her not to think about leaving here as soon as possible. It is better to pay attention to something good and think less about the bad. This way she will heal faster. Her soul and conscience will be clear. And he will definitely notice this, and only then will he be able to give permission to return back. Meanwhile, surprisingly, if it weren't for her room without a bed, everything here wouldn't be so bad. As soon as the girl thought about this, some people grabbed her and started taking her to a place completely different from where her room was. She asked what is going on, and the priest ignores her and even turns away. He only looked at her at the end with a sinister look, which is not at all like the look of a priest. Molly immediately noticed that he treats her in a special way. He clearly has some personal dislike for her, and she feels it. Meanwhile, her husband is already going somewhere in his carriage. Despite the rainy weather, he never cancels his plans. For some reason, the assistant insists that they reschedule the meeting, but the guy's persistent and asks not to even think about it. He says that business people never cancel what is planned. He has always been a punctual person, and everyone knows it. And the assistant also has a huge bouquet of flowers in his hands. I wonder who it is intended for. They are both very worried, but they definitely don't plan to go back. It turns out that on that day, he decided to visit his mother. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Apparently, those flowers were for her. They had already arrived at the monastery where she had been for most of her life, but not to take her with them, but simply to talk. There were a lot of people here today. The guy didn't think it was such a crowded place. He always imagined that no one was ever here. The woman is alone as usual. She has already forgotten the last time she talked to someone. I'm very curious how she will react to him, because he left her here and still hasn't picked her up. His eyes are a little watery, he is too embarrassed in front of her, and his mother looks at him with such a look as if she is trying to believe that today is her last day here. She has been dreaming about this for a long time. She says how happy she is to see him, although deep inside there has long been a great resentment. The guy is really stressed out by the fact that there are a lot of reporters around. They found out that he will be here today and came to film everything. He doesn't like to communicate when there are so many strangers around. We had to talk in a whisper because Mom doesn't like closed spaces. She asked to stay outside. She felt comfortable here. And since he didn't visit her often, he didn't resist. She asked him what was new, how was his wife, if everything was okay with them. To which he replied that everything was fine. Apparently, he didn't want to go into details. The woman says that she imagines Molly as a very bright, sweet girl with whom it is a pleasure to live together. The guy kept quiet at that moment. He doesn't want to upset his mother. She doesn't have much good in her life as it is, and telling the truth will only make things worse. She doesn't take her eyes off him for a second, mentally praying that he will say what she has wanted for so long. And Victor doesn't look like he has good news for her. He's kind of sad, and she's already starting to understand that she was happy in vain. They started talking about nothing, drinking tea, and there weren't even any sweets to go with it. They were forbidden here. He doesn't know what to tell her. He didn't think it would be so hard, and he even wants to go back, and it hasn't even been 10 minutes. Every time he comes here, he expects to see a much worse picture, but Mom looks pretty good. Apparently, she has adapted and come to terms with this life. Suddenly, he asked her why she wasn't smiling, and she couldn't stand it any longer and decided to explain what he apparently still hadn't understood. Mom asked how she could smile if she had been living in this place for so many years. Where there were no people, there was dust and a depressing atmosphere all around. She is not even allowed outside the territory. She is here like a prisoner, and at this moment the woman cannot bear it. She had nothing to lose anyway. She broke the cup, got so angry that she ran up to him, grabbed him by the clothes, and then said what she really wanted to say all this time. She expected it from anyone, but not from her son. When he locked her here, ruined her life, and now he still laughs and asks why she doesn't smile. The woman would have looked at him with pleasure if he had lived here for so many years, and she came to him all so pleased, with such stupid questions and behavior as if everything was fine. Victor didn't even move. He calmly looks into her eyes because he understands that she has every right to treat him the way she wants. He is not going to make excuses. It hurts him to look at his mother like this. He is very sorry that everything turned out this way, but he thinks that she should understand that he could not have acted differently. She had a shard of glass in her hands which she used to cut his neck, but he doesn't care. He's ready to endure it. Because in her place he would have done exactly the same. Now he feels too awkward. He doesn't know how to leave here now and leave her as if nothing had happened. After a couple of minutes, Mom realized that she had gone a little overboard. She said that she shouldn't have done it and started apologizing. He replied that it was not necessary, and after that she began to hint that if he helped her and returned with her to the palace, then she would prove that she was already okay and safe for those around her. To which he replied that of course it will definitely happen, but not this time. But last time he told her the same thing. It was very painful to hear. The woman understood that he was not going to return her, calmly accepted it, and said goodbye to him. The guy returned to the carriage. His assistant was very worried about him, started asking how everything went. Because this time the gentleman was late, but he said that everything was fine. Nothing special happened, and as usual, Mom asked him to take her with him. The guy asks why he didn't take her, and then he realizes that it's a weird question and apologizes. He himself did not like this trip. Everything around was too gloomy. Even the air there was unpleasant, impossible to breathe. It was saturated with hatred and everything connected with it. It was too hard a meeting. Many people don't understand that he is not such an indifferent person as they think. He had returned his mother a long time ago, but she is too dangerous for those around her. And today he was convinced of this. She hasn't learned to control herself. She only pretends that everything is fine with her, But in reality, everything has only gotten worse. Meanwhile, a lot of time has passed. Molly decided to write a letter to her husband, Victor. 70 days have already passed. In another month, you and I will finally see each other. I'm really looking forward to it. Did you receive the letters I sent earlier? It was about once a week. I don't expect a reply, but I wonder if any of the letters were read. How are you? I think about you every day. And now as I write this letter, tears are welling up in my eyes. I already want to go back. Half an hour ago, when she wrote this letter, her nose started bleeding, but the girl didn't pay attention to it. She thought it was from nerves, but it turned out to be more serious. It looks like a fever. The doctor said that it could be life-threatening. They didn't even give her a bed for the time being. While she's feeling bad, Molly is sweating a lot. Her body is very red. It looks like she has a fever, but it's much more serious. Lying on a wooden floor in this state is quite a challenge, but she is already used to it. The girl didn't notice how Victor's father came to her. He arrived very unexpectedly. Apparently, he found out about her condition and decided to help. I can't believe that he suddenly decided to take care of her, but still, she appreciated his attention. He began to ask if her life here was as hard as he had been told, that she was forced to sleep on the cold floor, restricted in food, and not even provided with medical care when needed. He hates her, of course, but not so much that he doesn't pay attention to it. After all, health is more important than all the misunderstandings and all that stuff. And then the most interesting thing began. Instead of helping, it turns out, he came to ask her to sign some document about non-disclosure of everything that she experienced here. Especially Victor should not know about this. If he finds out about it, he will be furious, and also manipulation began. Supposedly, she cannot, by the way, between father and son, and if she just keeps silent, then everyone will be better off. He didn't offer anything in return. He just asked to sign, and after that, he would probably calmly leave as if nothing had happened. The girl looks at this document. She wants to tear it up right now, but in the end, he added that for help, he will allocate a large sum of money for her and will give it to her immediately, only she will leave here. Just as much as should be enough for the treatment of her brother and for her future life. The man thought that she would immediately agree, but Molly is silent, and with her look makes it clear that everything in this life is sometimes not as easy as we would like. For example, she was treated unfairly, and she has every right to be unfair to him. Although if you look at the situation from the outside, then everything will be very correct. At the very least, he was obliged to help just like that. And all that care that he initially ruled was just a simple manipulation. He approved it before asking for a signature. Then she thought that she didn't expect any help anyway, but at least they'd give her some money. For that, she just had to keep quiet, and that wasn't hard. From the moment the girl first met Victor, he seemed to her like a man whose heart was numb from both joy and pain. And this suited her just fine, because she loved him just like that, and not for something, as happens with many. Then she didn't notice how she began to wonder how strong his feelings were, and whether they remained at all. At the beginning, Molly couldn't think that they would have so many problems in their relationship. Apparently, she just didn't get to know him completely. He has so many problems in his life that it would probably be better if he didn't start any relationship, because after that, it got worse for both him and her. She tried for a long time to unravel the secret, why it was not revealed to her completely, and the answer was on the surface. Everything that had happened in his life before left a dark mark that overshadowed everything beautiful that came after that. First, he needed to resolve everything with the past, and only then start a relationship. Molly experienced how hard it was for him, and he didn't even see it. She shared every emotional pain with him, tried to be his support when it was needed, and until the very end refused to believe that they could not have any future. After all, his father was right. Now she signed the document with tears in her eyes, and now she has little plans to get out of here, get her money and file for divorce to start a new life. Only when this happens, everything depends, unfortunately, not on her, but on Victor. 3 weeks have passed since then. She was finally brought back. The girl can't get used to this light interior. She began to truly appreciate all the comfort and convenience that she had previously overlooked and taken for granted. At that moment, an assistant came to see her to find out if everything was okay. She still has health problems, so she is sometimes monitored. She said that she felt better already, but still not so good that she could say that everything was over. Despite all this, she now at least smiles. She has sunlight in her room, and that is enough to make her feel great. The girl even asked to give her some chores. She wants to do something. The assistant brought her documents that need to be sorted, and she happily promised to do it. She even said that the better the documents, the more productive she will feel. Because if she sits around doing nothing, it reminds her of a monastery where she couldn't think of anything to do. The guy realized that she wasn't bored at all. She was just scared to remember how empty it was in that monastery. So much so that she couldn't even think of anything. She just lay on the floor there and ate sometimes. Anyway, he's glad to see her smiling, because if things were too bad, she'd look completely different. And also, she is very happy when someone comes to her. She gets the feeling that she is needed by someone. In general, the monastery had a very good effect on her. Molly began to enjoy everything she saw and heard. She even thought about tidying up her room, although no one asked her to do so. At the same time, the girl herself does not notice all these changes. It all happens by itself. It is very interesting to see how Victor will react to her. He simply does not recognize her. Meanwhile, it's evening. The guy, as usual, reads the latest news. He can't miss it because he needs to know if they wrote anything about him. Today, he decided to relax properly, asked to bring his favorite drink, and he will also have dinner in his room. As usual, he didn't read anything good. He is rarely satisfied with what he reads in the newspapers. He gets the impression that editors don't care how true the information is. They just need to interest readers in any way possible. He is very irritated that he can't do anything about it. If he comes to them, they will only make it worse out of spite. And in the meantime, he only just found out that his wife had returned to the mansion as they had agreed. He heard her name and was immediately surprised because he forgot that today was the very day she was supposed to arrive. In fact, although Molly didn't know when they would come for her, the specific date had long ago been discussed between us, his assistants, and his father. This means that the surprise was only for her, and everyone else already knew everything. Molly at this moment. He asked her why she came at such a late hour. They could have seen each other tomorrow. For example, he would have invited her to breakfast. She replied that after living in the monastery for so long, she was not used to getting her bearings. For her, morning, afternoon, and evening are all the same. And also, she thought that since they had already seen each other, they could discuss something very important. Right here in the hallway. She wanted to talk about it for so long that she couldn't put it off until another time. So she just said that they needed to get a divorce. After that, he will be able to find himself some woman from a worthy family. Then the royal court will perceive him differently, and he will not have any problems in life. She thinks that it's time for each of them to start a new life. Because being in this relationship, they only make things worse for each other. The girl says that it was very difficult for her to make such a decision. She understands that it may also be painful for him to hear this, but she really wants him to understand that this is the only right choice that they will have to make. Otherwise, they can't be happy. She is sure of it and thinks that he understands it too. Molly thought it would be more difficult, but he didn't even say anything. He immediately asked the assistant for a pen to put his signature everywhere where it was necessary. At first, she was offended that he did it so easily, but then she realized that it didn't matter anymore. The document was signed. She told him that she was grateful to him for this and for the fact that once she was the happiest next to him. It's just a pity that I mistakenly thought that it would always be like this. To which he said that he did everything he could, and now he would like to remain good friends who do not hold grudges against each other. Molly says that she will soon return to the estate, started to go somewhere, and of course he asked where she was going because it was already late outside. Then he repeated it again and asked me to do thoughtless things. It's cold there, dangerous. It's better to spend the night and then leave, anywhere. The girl replied that she saw a tram stop nearby. She would just go there in a couple of minutes and promised that everything would be fine. He didn't detain her. He no longer has the right to do this. He simply wished her a good journey and asked her to be careful. Molly smiled and said that he was very sweet when he was worried. Then she said good night and asked him to close the door behind her. He looked at her strangely. Apparently, he still doesn't realize that now they are strangers to each other, who don't owe anything to each other. He somehow didn't think that it would happen so quickly, in the middle of the night, in the hallway, in a couple of minutes. The assistant was also so worried that he even offered to go after the lady and try to get her back, at least for one night. He doubts that she will find a place to spend the night. To which the guy replied that there was no need to do anything She was an adult, and it was her decision. And he himself feels somehow strange. On the one hand, he feels very relieved. But on the other hand, now he constantly sees her smile in front of him. Maybe the guy is just not ready to say goodbye to her and sign the document in the heat of the moment without realizing the consequences. At the moment the door closed, Molly stood on the threshold for a few more minutes. She had been waiting for this for so long that she couldn't believe it had happened. Now she is a completely free person. She can go wherever she wants. She imagined this moment a little differently. But it's just a fear of the unknown that will soon pass. And she wants to see that, as soon as a new day comes, the sun will come out and everything will be fine. She didn't even have time to leave the territory when her assistant Andre came up to her, covered her from the rain with an umbrella and asked how she was doing. And she feels so empty inside that she doesn't even have words to respond. She says that she is starting a new stage in her life. She has no idea what will happen next. It scares her and makes her happy at the same time. Says that he has a rough idea of what she's going through now, so he decided to give her some advice. Enjoy every moment of life, even when it's dark, raining, and there's uncertainty ahead. And he also said that her fear inside will soon disappear. It's just because of the changes that her consciousness perceives as a danger. He also has this when he does something new and is afraid of making a mistake. Then he asked her what her plan was, and she herself doesn't know what to do. She has nowhere to spend the night, and at the same time, she likes it. In the end, he didn't let her go alone, offered to help with a heavy suitcase and took her where she needed to go. They found some abandoned house. The girl thought that she could stay here for a while. It was obvious that no one lived here. She immediately said that she would stay here for a couple of months, no more. But even if so, we would still have to clean up here. Cobwebs hang all over the walls. Dust is everywhere. There is no air, but she has no other option. The guy didn't leave even now. He understands how much work there is here, and he can't leave her here alone. At the very least, it is unlikely to stretch to the top to remove the cobwebs that have accumulated over at least several years. It's also a bit chilly here. The space is large. It will be very difficult to tidy everything up alone. Molly didn't expect anyone to help her. She felt very uncomfortable. She said that she could do everything herself and didn't want to burden him with her problems. The girl didn't understand why he started taking some measurements. She decided to just not bother him and stand aside. Meanwhile, he says that she has every opportunity to create her own business related to watches. He learned that she was very good at it. And since this house was very big, the first floor could be turned into a workshop and she could live on the second. The guy doesn't insist on it and she doesn't mind. She'll just have something to do in the evening soon. As a result, the renovation is in full swing. They are already delivering furniture to her, and it doesn't look like she will be moving out anytime soon. Molly's very happy that Andre is helping her. Without him, she wouldn't even be able to clean, let alone decide to start a business. And also, she has already made friends with the locals. At first, she was very awkward, but she has already gotten used to it and even invited one of them to her place for dinner today. This girl works nearby. She sells baked goods and she brought her friend something to eat. She saw that she had no time for anything. Molly was very pleased. She thanked him and still does not believe that her life is starting to improve. At the moment, she has no problems. She enjoys every moment and communicates only with those with whom she feels comfortable. A friend remembered that she was distracted. She needs to urgently return to work, otherwise she will be fired. After that, they wished each other a good day. Julia hopes that she will be able to meet her in the evening, and Molly too. Meanwhile, Julia returned to work. Her colleagues are already waiting for her to find out something interesting. The girls said that Molly was a very nice girl as she thought, and also said that they had agreed to meet today. These two immediately became sad. They were a little jealous of their friend because the three of them have been friends for many years. On the one hand, they are very happy for Julia because new acquaintances are always good, but they are sad because of Molly they will see her less. They told her so. Julia heard this and immediately said that nothing like that would happen. She would communicate equally with each of them and perhaps even introduce them all so that they could communicate as a foursome. And in the meantime, these two can't stop admiring the results of their work. They do everything so well that they want to do it forever. The renovation will be over soon, and Molly is so carried away that she would like to start all over again when the place was full of cobwebs. She perceives Andre as her business partner. He has done a lot for this, and of course, she plans to share the first proceeds with him. She would really like him to be with her always. But at the same time, she does not forget that he has his own life, and at any moment, she can be left alone, without his help. Meanwhile, things aren't so colorful with her ex-husband. He didn't even remove the photos from their wedding, and when the maid wanted to do it, he said let them stand for a while. Unlike the girl, his life has not improved. He remembers her very often and even thought about getting her back and giving the relationship a second chance. He begins to realize that he has lost Molly, who has always been his support, but most often he did not notice it. Suddenly, the assistant brings him a bouquet and says that there is a note inside, which probably has someone's name on it. The guy has never received anything like this. He has no idea what it is and who could have sent him this bouquet. At first, he thought it was some kind of mistake and the courier had the wrong address. But it turns out it was a gift from Molly, because today is his birthday, which he usually doesn't celebrate. Victor usually throws away all the gifts. He hates this day, but the moth flowers are still in his hands. Meanwhile, she already has a bunch of plans. She woke up and quickly got ready to go out. She still needs to buy some groceries. Andre asks if she is tired of constantly doing something. He has already forgotten the last time he saw her doing nothing. It may seem that she is constantly busy, full of problems around, but this is not so. Molly enjoys everything she does. It gives her energy, unlike before. It is no longer hard for her to get up in the morning. She is full of goals, plans, energy, because she knows that she is doing this for herself. For example, it is still morning, and she is already on the next street, arrived at someone's home. It just so happened that her relatives live nearby. She only found time for this today and decided to make a surprise. The girl didn't recognize them at first, but then she looked closer and realized that they were definitely Sister Maria and Brother Arnold. She couldn't believe that now they could see each other every day. Her hands were shaking, and they were also worried. After all, this was a long-awaited meeting for each of them. It would seem that everything should be very easy, wonderful, but she was so worried that she couldn't even approach them. At some point, a guy came up to her, who heard her from the window earlier, and it turned out that Molly had mixed everything up. There was another guy at the table, and this man was her beloved brother, who all this time believed that this moment would come. He was very surprised that after so much time, he recognized her by her voice, and in order not to stand on the street, he suggested going into the house. They are both a little nervous after all. This is a special moment that cannot be prepared for. The girl had already sent him a bottle of medicine, so she asked if it was helping or not, but the guy drank it all and wasn't sure yet. He thinks it should take some time. Molly wanted to check everything herself, so she asked to let her take off the bandage from him. She opened it slightly, but his eyes were completely white. It was very scary to look at. Now she understands why he always wears it, so as not to scare himself and others. His condition is not getting better. She is frightened by the fact that even such a strong medicine, the best that could be found, is not coping. In such a case, she has another bottle with her. They decided to use it right now. There is nothing else to do anyway. The brother is very embarrassed. He knows that this medicine is very expensive and not easy to get, but she calmed him down and said that everything is fine. She already has it anyway and needs to use it. When he started asking what she was doing, the girl thought to talk about it later, because now his condition was more important. She only said that it was connected with the store, to which he replied that he would really like to see it as soon as possible. Molly replied that it would definitely happen. She believed in it, because recently she began to believe in miracles. The girl knows that dreams come true, and his dream will also come true. Once his eyes heal and he can see, there's so much they need to do that Molly will get tired of listing. For example, first he will see her in the store, then they will restore the rights that their uncle took away from him as a guardian. After that, it will be possible to go to the Raspberry Watch factory and regain ownership of this estate. The girl opens a bottle of medicine. She really believes that it will be of some use. After all, it is unusual and should work. She starts dripping a little bit directly from the jar onto his bandage. It gets soaked and will moisturize his eyes. She already likes taking care of him. She will definitely come to him more often, at least once every couple of days. Suddenly, he said that he never doubted for a second that she would not leave him and would come as soon as she could. The guy said that he was constantly told that his sister had abandoned him and forgotten him a long time ago, that he might not wait for her, and that it was very difficult to think otherwise in such an environment. He always knew that even thinking about her leaving him was nonsense. It would never happen. The guy started remembering his childhood, which they spent under the yoke of his uncle, the day when the girl challenged him and he was punished with a slap. He thought that she was to blame. But if it weren't for the evil uncle, nothing like that would have happened and they would have played peacefully. It was a very difficult childhood. There was not a single calm day. And most of all, they hated sitting at the same table with their uncle, who was constantly dissatisfied with something and taught them how to eat properly. In his opinion, the right thing to do is to leave most of the food for him and eat quickly and go for a walk somewhere, and preferably not even dirty the plates. He often beat them, punished them, forbade them even to see each other, but they can still remember a lot of pleasant moments that wash away all the bad things they went through. They could cry in the same room, but they felt like close people who could not be broken by anyone or anything. After that, no words or ridicule will be able to convince him that his sister could leave him. Meanwhile, a new day has come. Molly returned to Andre. He said, "Welcome home," and he is also glad to see her. She wonders if they sold any watches while she was gone. She really wants to hear that they did, that they sold at least one item. It shows that this type of watch is the one that is bought the most. They are selling like hotcakes, and this is great news. Molly was hoping for one sale, but then this happened. She is very happy, and now she has even more desire to work and sell goods. Naturally, she didn't miss the opportunity to remind him that she had said that these watches would be in demand, but he didn't believe her. Andre replied that he already remembered it. There was no need to remind her about it. She only ruined a good moment, and it would have been better if he had not said anything at all. The guy hates such phrases, he said so directly, and she apologized and promised that it would not happen again. They did so much yesterday that there was almost no work left for today. Molly couldn't even imagine that running her own business was much easier than living with Victor, even though she did almost nothing there. Now it's easier for her in everything. As a result, she only started working in the evening. During the day, she wanted to rest, enjoy life, and now inspiration has appeared. The girl loves her job so much that she does it and doesn't notice how time flies. She started working when it was more or less light outside. It felt like she worked a little. And it was already dark outside. The moon appeared. Her eyes began to get tired and thoughts appeared to finally rest. Today, she was working on a new product that she is going to present at the exhibition tomorrow. Although they have been selling watches for a couple of days now, the grand opening is only tomorrow. And before that, there are some things to do. They hadn't approved the name of the store yet, and as soon as she said she wanted to use the name Raspberry for the store, the watch factory masters came out strongly against it. Molly always consulted with them. She very often takes their opinion into account. And of course, she also decided to discuss everything with them about the name of the store. People don't understand how the name Raspberry Watch Factory could even appear in her mind. They think it would be better to use her first or last name in the name. After all, the lady put her soul into it. Well, it just so happened that she imagines it a little differently. Everyone understands that this is her business. The girl is just consulting with them, and the final decision will be hers. They didn't notice how morning came. No one really got enough sleep. But today is a very important day, and there is no time to rest. Molly is making sure everything goes according to plan. She is so worried that her hands are shaking, and there is not a single customer in the store yet. Meanwhile, they started talking again and remembered that there was a sign hanging near the workshop. Passers-by must have noticed it, and today there should definitely be a couple of buyers, or at least people who were interested in their products. The girl thinks that no one will come to them at all. She is very unsure of herself. Although she understands that they have good prices and excellent quality, she herself would not be able to pass by such a store. In the end, she was so scared that she decided to postpone the opening until the next day. Returned to the room in the evening and began to feel even worse. At that moment, some children ran up to her. They shouted very loudly that it was urgent and she had to listen to them. Susan and Charlie look very scared, and she can't even imagine how this could be related to her. They say that the tram broke down and they urgently need to fix it right now. She told them that it was impossible. Tram repairs were currently prohibited and they should have known about it. In July last year, the royal family and a priest passed a law banning the repair of trams and bicycles. In their opinion, trams and bicycles make people idle and reduce their productivity. Supposedly, it is better for people to walk. Many people disagree with this, but it is impossible to repeal the law, and if it is broken, there will be serious punishment, and it is inevitable. The kids didn't just ask her about it for no reason. The whole thing is that if the tram remains broken, their dad, the tram driver, will lose his job, and then they won't have money for food. Molly is the only person they could turn to because they know she can fix anything. She now faces a very difficult choice. If she refuses the children, she will never forgive herself, and if she agrees, there could be very serious problems, and for everyone. Looking at them, it is impossible to assess the situation sensibly. They are so good that she is ready to do anything for them, as if they were her little brother and sister. In the end, naturally, Molly agreed to help them, and then she thought that since she had already decided to do this, she needed to do it quickly and not think about fear. She asked where the tram stopped, and they all went there together. They ran to this place. Their father is still here. The children ran to him and said that they called for help. The man doesn't understand what's going on. He asked the girl what she was doing there. But the children told everything for her and admitted that they were the ones who called her. Even after that, he didn't understand at first what she was going to do here. But when Charlie said that she would fix the tram, he got very worried because he knows that this can't be done, and she is taking a big risk. She told him that the decision had already been made. She was ready to do it. And she was also too kind a person to refuse his wonderful children. To begin with, the girl asked him to prepare all the necessary tools that he had with him. The man called his partner. Molly is already downstairs, trying to do everything quickly and quietly so as not to attract unnecessary attention. Underneath, she saw that everything was very worn out. Half of the parts needed to be replaced, and preferably all of them. The tram diagram that hung on the wall in her parents' workshop somehow remained in her memory, and this drawing will remind her in all its details. Despite the fact that the tram structure is special, she did not experience any difficulties in repairing everything. Moreover, everything here seems too elementary. She is sure that if she were a child, even at that age, she could fix everything. Molly enjoyed helping these people. She was filled with good energy. And when she had finished everything, she stood up and was glad to see their smiles, and especially the smiles of the children who did not doubt her. After that, she asked to check if they could go further. The driver returned to his seat and said that everything is great. The tram is now like new and he doesn't even know how to thank her. He said that maybe he doesn't have any emotions right now. That's just the kind of person he is, but asked him to believe that inside he is incredibly happy. The children have already run up to her. They are so happy that they hug her with all their might, as tightly as they can. They started wiping her with handkerchiefs. Their father got out of the tram and said that he didn't even know what to say. Without her, they would have been left without work and left hungry on the street. Molly asked him not to think about it anymore. She just did a good deed and didn't expect anything in return. The main thing is that the children are happy and everything ended well. When suddenly another driver ran up to them and said that they had problems. Some people in uniform are coming towards them. He is worried that this is some kind of check, but they were not warned about anything like that. It is possible that they could be from the police. He is afraid that someone saw what was happening here, and they all came to sort things out. The man asked the girl to immediately go to a safe place so as not to get into trouble, and they will somehow sort things out themselves. Molly didn't distract them. She was very scared and already started thinking about where she could hide. She found a door somewhere, hid behind it, thought that now she would quickly decide and she would be able to calmly go home. Her heart is beating very hard. Her hands are shaking. Another one is so tired that it is difficult to control anything in such a state. She couldn't get far. She's literally 10 meters away from them. It could be dangerous. The girl has no idea what to do now. She wants to get up as an invisible person, calmly wait it out and run to her soft and comfortable bed. Some man in uniform shows his ID. He says that they received a message that the tram has stopped. Therefore, we are obliged to check whether this is really the case and whether everything is not as scary as it may seem. Maybe they'll see that the message is false, wish everyone good night, and go back. And then out of nowhere appears Knight Victor. He came with these people and is just going to where Molly is hiding. The tram driver tried to stop him, but no one listened to him. Victor ignored him and walked on. The man's face immediately turned pale. He was worried about the girl. He was very sorry, but he did everything he could. And in the meantime, he had already found her, although he hadn't been looking for her. Molly didn't expect to see him here, but she still said hello and asked what he was doing here. She didn't think he could be connected with the police. At least he never told her about it. I wonder how it will all end. And even if the worst outcome happens, will he do anything to her? From the outside, it all looks a bit strange. It would be better if she just stood in the middle of the room. But as it is clear that she wanted to hide from someone. For all this time, while he was standing here, the guy didn't say a single word. Suddenly, silently took out a gun and pointed it straight at her. After that, he said goodbye. Molly shot, but for some reason, he deliberately missed and left her alive. Everyone heard the sound, especially the man and his children were scared. Although maybe he did it for the other knights, so that they would not go in there and do it instead of him. It is possible that he simply saved her. Now it is clear why he said those parting words so loudly. The children are panicking. They took everything seriously. They are crying. They don't understand why this world is so cruel. Meanwhile, Victor looked at the girl for some time. He stood at the aisle and made sure that his assistants did not come in here. Then he decided to leave. Again, he didn't tell her anything. And at that moment, Molly was trying to come to her senses. She had resigned herself to the fact that this was her end. On the one hand, she was grateful to him, but on the other hand, some hidden hatred appeared inside her. It was very cruel, and as soon as all these people started to leave, the drivers with children ran towards her. At that moment, they didn't know what they would actually see. They just couldn't leave her there. And even at first, they wanted to look and covered their eyes. Once they saw that the knight had actually shot at the stone wall, they felt incredible relief. Molly is all nervous. She is sweating. Beads of sweat are running down her face, and this is not surprising. It's lucky that she didn't lose consciousness at all. Another person in her place might not have survived. Susan and Charlie pounced on her. They are very happy to see her alive. And of course, the drivers too. One of them couldn't hold back. He started crying because the situation was not easy. A real miracle had just happened. You would think that they would start to calm her down, but it turned out the opposite. Molly came to her senses faster, started to say that the main thing is that everything is fine, the tram was fixed, everyone is alive, and those people have already left. She will sort things out with Victor later. She has a lot of questions for him, but now she needs to calm the children down. They have too much stress today. She hugged them very tenderly, said that she is proud of them, and of course, she will be glad if they come to her more often. Then she will definitely come to help with the cleaning up after the shot. But now it is better for everyone to rest and gain strength. No one thought that this evening would end exactly like this. Everyone was very nervous, but it's good that everything ended well. Molly had already returned home. She thought that she would calmly lie down on the bed, but Andre was not sleeping and all this time was waiting for her to return. The girl knew that he usually went to bed late, but she didn't think that he was so worried about her. Could he really be that worried about her? He started to get a little upset that she was somewhere for a very long time. Because of this, he couldn't leave, because he wanted to make sure that she was okay. She apologized to him, said that there was an emergency, she couldn't help but help people, and she thinks that he should understand her. It is clear that he is offended, but she does not take it seriously. After all, she could not have acted differently, and he will have to accept the fact that she is too kind a person. It's another night when they couldn't get enough sleep. He's not in the mood anymore, and he has to go home so late. Molly wished him a good trip and apologized again. After everything that happened, she couldn't sleep peacefully, decided to relax properly and started with a hot dinner. It was very tasty. She was just hungry and couldn't wait until the morning. Lucky that Andre cooked not only for himself but also for her. She just had to warm it up, have a quiet dinner in silence, but she didn't stop there. After that, I went and filled the bath with hot water and added a couple of drops of vanilla-scented essential oil. She plunged into the water and enjoyed this moment to the fullest. Just a couple of hours ago, she didn't even think that she would be able to return home at all, and now she is already safe. In a warm bath, and all the bad things are behind her. She couldn't fully relax. Pictures of Victor flashed in her mind. She won't forget that cold look for a long time. She even thought about going to talk to him, but she understands that some time needs to pass so that he is not as emotional as she is. He might change his mind, but for now it's better to stay safe and think it over carefully. Molly came out of the bathroom. She made her favorite soft slippers, pajamas, took a towel to wipe her hair. And at that moment, she had some strange feeling, as if there was some danger nearby. But she didn't understand what it was. In fact, while she was lying in the bathroom and thinking about her ex-husband, he was already on his way. Then she heard some strange sound on the street, looked out the window, did not expect to see anything there, but saw a carriage, which she knows very well, and of course she also recognized her husband's silhouette. It wasn't difficult. She has no idea what they are doing here. And there is also some man with them, whose head they tied with some cloth so that he can't see anything. If only I knew how it would all end again. It's unlikely that he came here to see someone else, and it's possible that the person with them might turn out to be her friend. When she saw him turning towards her, she immediately fell to the floor, because if he finds out where exactly the window to her room is, he'll be here in a couple of minutes, and this way she at least has time to think. The only thing she could think of in case they broke down the door was to just pretend to be asleep. And then someone had already approached the door. They asked her to open the door nicely before they started to break it down. Naturally, she didn't ignore it. She immediately obeyed, because if she hadn't done it, everything would have only gotten worse. She even went down to the first floor so quickly that she didn't even notice how it happened. The guy tells her that they haven't seen each other for a long time. After that, the man next to him began to move. Molly was very scared because she understood perfectly well that they took him with them for a reason. She is very scared, she can't even look in that direction, and she is also very afraid of blood, and especially its smell. Then she asked him what he was doing there, and who was this man who was clearly injured. Victor asked his assistant to show her the man's face and said that she should recognize him. The soldier lifts the cloth. Nothing is clear yet, and Molly has only one thought: if only it was not one of her relatives. Suddenly, she recognizes this man at first sight. This is the same priest from the monastery whom she did not like at first sight. She began to remember how terrible it was for her there, especially in those moments when he deliberately made her stay there even worse. She doesn't have a single good memory of him, and he's just a priest that she might not remember. Even now, she feels uneasy. Inside her, there are all sorts of emotions mixed up: pity, fear, hostility, and all of this at the same time. The guy told her that there was a villain in front of her, because of whom more than 10 people died in the last couple of days. They recently raided the monastery at the request of the police, and as soon as the priest saw his face, he told something about Molly. He thought that the guy would look for him because of her. Yesterday afternoon, Victor checked the room she was staying in at the monastery. He saw something worse than a prison cell. I'm sure that's where she caught her fever. It looks like he wants to take revenge on this person for her, and maybe even right in front of her eyes. He has only one question for her. Why didn't she tell him about it? Because at that time they were husband and wife. And then she remembers that she had an agreement with Gorgi. She signed a document and swore that his son would never know the truth. Because if Victor finds out that his father didn't help when it was needed, and because of this, her health got worse, he will have a big fight with him and may even stop communicating. She thought very carefully before speaking, and then said that she had nothing to expect from a man who sent his wife to a monastery. He can't believe that she could do this. They were together for so many years, and he never really got to know her. She thinks she answered well, but still, he came for a reason, and something is probably about to start. The girl herself did not notice how she began to tell him that for the 2 years that they lived together, she sincerely loved him and tried to be a good wife. But at the same time, she saw that it was not mutual, and therefore, after so much time, she decided to get a divorce. In that relationship, she didn't feel loved. She felt like an outsider in his house and didn't see any happy future together. The guy said that if he was constantly busy and didn't pay much attention to her, it didn't mean that he was hinting at something or didn't want to be with her. When he signed the document, he did it only because she had such thoughts in the first place. He just didn't want to be with a girl who could offer him such a thing. She replied that it seemed to her that there was no point in even trying to fix anything. They had already tried and nothing worked, and she didn't want to waste another 2 years. The guy feels like she has distanced herself from him, both physically and mentally, but he himself doesn't know whether it upsets him or not. He sees that she speaks very frankly, but her behavior seems to be unnaturally hiding something, as if she is not telling everything, maybe even to herself. And then he remembers that he heard that his father once came to visit her, So just in case, he asked if it was by chance his. The man was always against this relationship, so it is not surprising that Victor had such thoughts. He is sure that her father could not have come to her just like that, without a reason, so he asked her to confess everything. Otherwise, he knows everything himself, and then it will be worse for everyone. She answered him that she did not know what he was talking about and why Sir George was constantly present in this conversation. And then she asked why he didn't ask him about it personally and how necessary it was to disturb her in the middle of the night. Molly understands perfectly well that he is simply looking for any opportunity to see her, so much so that it doesn't matter to him whether it's day or night. She tries to explain to him that no matter how much he wants it, nothing can be returned. Everyone has their own life, and she likes being alone more than with him. For the first time in so long, she realized that it was better to be alone, but in harmony and peace with herself, than with someone, but feel lonely. They didn't talk for long. Victor understood everything for himself, even though he didn't say anything, but inside he understood that he was to blame. Perhaps the girl would have come back to him if she knew that he would not be the same and that she would feel loved. They all already went outside. That man was still not released, and she watches this through the window. The assistant is already nervous. The priest is resisting strongly, and he no longer has the strength to hold him. The master ordered him to be tied up tighter and then sent to pay for his sins with his life. Even though that man is really a villain, she still feels very sorry for him. Molly can't look at this calmly, although no one forces her. And also she is very anxious inside, although everything has already been resolved. She personally has no more problems, but she still feels uneasy somehow. Meanwhile, the next day came. Molly decided to take a break and went to her friend's store. They haven't seen each other for a long time. The girl apologized that they never met when they agreed, but the friend is not very upset. She understands everything, started asking how she is doing, what's new, because she herself has nothing interesting and she has long wanted to know how Molly is doing. She said that it would be better if they discussed it in some other setting, because at the most inopportune moment, customers might come in and it would all be awkward. Since the girl didn't want to discuss her news here, Julia decided to ask if Molly knew what kind of carriage was near her store yesterday. She was walking late at night and saw people standing near their workshop for more than half an hour. Molly noticed two of Julia's colleagues walking towards them, but she still said it was her ex-husband. And since colleagues know the same thing as Julia, they were also interested in listening to it. Everyone was so surprised and asked to tell about it in more detail. Those two girls forgot that they didn't even know each other. They apologized for everything that happened, and Molly laughed and said that she was glad to be friends with them. She said that he just came to give some documents because it was on his way, and then they said goodbye, and she went home. In the end, she wanted to get distracted, but she was reminded again about Victor. But the girl was not very upset. This beautiful day is nothing anyway, and no one will ruin it. Meanwhile, a man came to the girl's brother. He knocked on the door and introduced himself as Count Dampelt. He recently went to Miss Molly's shop, but she wasn't there, so he came here to see if she was here. The guy says that he arrived at the right time. His sister should be arriving any minute, to which he says that in that case, he would like to ask her to give him these documents because he himself is in a hurry and cannot wait. The girl's brother agreed. The guy thanked him for his help, and at that moment, someone was watching them from the side. He recognized this man from the Dampelt family and wanted to know what they were giving to that guy. He turned out to be a very unpleasant person. It is clear at first glance. He also said very quietly that soon everyone would understand that the owner of this house was not one of those brothers and sisters, but he, Arnold Crimson. Meanwhile, the girl has already arrived to her brother. She is knocking to be let into the yard. She is in a great mood. Nothing is predetermined by problems, and suddenly the door opens. That guy grabs her by the clothes, calls her names, accuses her of something, and she doesn't even have time to react and push him away. She was so scared that she didn't even hear what he was saying to her. Molly asked, "What's the problem? What happened? Why is he acting like this?" She just wanted to meet her brother. Confidential statement of compensation refund. Since Victor became aware of the events that took place in the monastery, the confidentiality agreement is considered invalid, so they demand the return of compensation from her. Apparently, this is the same document that her brother received from Count Dampelt. They are already sitting all three in the living room. Arnold says that everyone already knows about the money that she has been hiding all this time and asks her to somehow explain it. It's not clear yet. What did he take in total? That there is his part there. He is hiding behind his father who raised them all this time and spent his personal money. Her cousin thinks she should share the money, but she says she doesn't understand what he's talking about if it's just her business and nobody else's business. And after that she asked, really, if she had earned money from her business, she would also have to give them some part. That's funny. That guy couldn't take it anymore. He got so angry that he raised his hand to her. Molly was already prepared for this blow. She understood that she would not be able to answer him when suddenly her brother stood up for her. He grabbed the man's hand and asked what just happened. He ordered him to control himself, but the guy didn't quite understand how he saw something and reacted so quickly. The girl's brother says that her sister's money will be hers alone, and he will not allow anyone to demand anything from her. After that, he asked her to follow him and ordered his cousin to stay where he was sitting. The guy tells them that they will still answer for everything. He will definitely take what belongs to him. Although it even sounds strange, does he really believe that he will succeed? Isaac restrains himself from speaking very rudely to him. He just turned to him and said that before he said anything to him, he should think about whether he would have to answer for these words next time. He immediately became quiet. He was afraid to catch up with them, but Molly calmly walks with her brother. She didn't expect this from him. Meanwhile, they went into another room. Now they definitely have something to discuss. When suddenly the brother asks how much the medicine they use costs. Since he found out that he had no problems with money, he thought that this was a normal question and she would calmly answer it. She said the medicine was more expensive than the regular one, but when she bought it, it had almost no effect on her financial situation. After that, he calmed down, thanked her again for everything she had done for him, and said that he loved her very much. Then they decided to have lunch. They were both hungry. They didn't have time to have breakfast, and the brother, as usual, had a very poor appetite. It was like this since childhood. She had to force him to eat something so that he wouldn't have stomach problems. The guy admitted that sometimes he is very pleased that she takes care of him, but on the other hand, as a man, it really depresses him. He can't exist normally without the help of other people, to which she told him that it wasn't his fault, especially since everything would be fine soon. Moreover, vision problems have nothing to do with male weakness. If he were weak or cowardly, then he could blame himself. But this is a completely different matter. She, as usual, calmed him down. He thought that indeed in his place anyone could have refused. And also, the fact that he accepts himself as he is and even learned to enjoy life despite everything says that he is a very strong person, and he should be proud of that. The next day came. She, as usual, could not sit quietly at home. She had already arrived at one place, approaching which she had a variety of sensations. She had experienced so much in this palace that her hands began to tremble from these memories. She came to talk to Victor's father to say that she had looked at the documents he had sent her. The man was really looking forward to her. They had something to discuss, and surprisingly, he was even in a good mood, and that happens very rarely. He started to tell that he had recently spoken with his son, and he asked him how it happened that he saw the conditions in which the girl lived in the monastery, and he did nothing about it. As if it was only his fault that the conditions there were like that, and the rude priest who treated her like that. In any case, he feels a little guilty about it, but just a little. The girl replied that this is not what she told him, and that he found out about it himself. The man doesn't believe that he could have gotten this information out of nowhere. He's sure that she has something to do with it. And he also said that he was very disappointed with her. He hoped that everything would go well, but in the end, nothing like that. Now he blames her for the fact that his own son has distanced himself from him, and none of this would have happened if she hadn't told him too much. The girl doesn't understand how to explain to him that he understands everything wrong, and in fact, she kept her word with a clear conscience and didn't tell anyone anything. Even though she did nothing wrong, she was telling the pure truth. Molly, for some reason, fell to the floor and started apologizing for upsetting him. She probably realized that there was no point in proving anything to him. He is not the kind of person who knows how to listen to someone. For him, only he himself is always right and no one else. It has always been and will be so. While the girl is sitting on the floor apologizing to him, at that moment Victor comes in and doesn't even know what's going on here. He recognized Molly. didn't expect to see her here, and he also has a few questions for the two of them, like how to understand all this.